sustained competitive advantage. Understanding source of sustained competitive advantage has become a major area research in strategic management, building on the assumption that strategic resources are heterogeneously distributed across firms and that these differences are stable over time. This article examines the link between firm resources and sustained competitive advantage. For empirical indicator of the potential of firm resources to generate sustained competitive advantage, value, richness, immutability, and substitutability are discussed. The model is applied by analyzing the potential of several firm resources for generating sustained competitive advantage. The article concludes by examining implications of this firm resources model of sustained competitive advantage for other business disciplines. Understanding research of sustained competitive advantage for firm has become a major area of research in the field of strategic management. Since the 1960s, a single organizing framework has been used to structure much of this research. This framework, summarized in Figure 1, suggests that firms obtain sustained competitive advantage by implementing strategies that exploit their internal strength through responding to environmental opportunities while neutralizing external threats and avoiding internal weakness. Most research on sources of sustained competitive advantage has focused either on isolating a firm's opportunities and threats, disabling its strengths or weakness, or analyzing how these are matched to choose strategies.
Defining key concepts. To avoid possible confusion, three concepts that are central to the perplexity developed in this article are defined in this section. These concepts are frames, resource, competitive advantage, and sustained competitive advantage. Frame resource. In this article, frames resource include all asset, capability, organization, process, frame attributes, information, new lead ends, control by a frames that enable crime control by a frame that enable the frames to concept to implement strategies that improve test efficiency and effectiveness in the language of traditional strategy analysis. Frame resources are track that frames can restore concept of and implement their strategy. Competitive advantage and sustained competitive advantage. In article, frames is said to have a competitive advantage when is implementing a value creative strategy, not simulating solely by implemented by any current or potential competitor. A frames is said to have a sustained competitive advantage when it is implemented by any current or potential competitor, and when these other firms are unable to duplicate the benefit of its strategy, these two definitions recruits.
Competition with homogeneous and perfectly mobile research. Armed with this definition, it is now possible to explore the impact of research heterogeneity and immobility on sustained competitive advantage. This is done by explaining the nature of competition when firm research are perfectly homogeneous and mobile. Research, homogeneity and mobility and sustained competitive advantage. Homogeneous and industry where firms possess the same research. This condition suggests that firms all have the same amount and kind of strategically relevant physical, human, and organization capital. There is a strategy that could be conceived of and implemented by any one of these firms that could not also be conceived of and implemented by all other firms in this industry? The answer to this question must be no. The conception and implementation of strategy implies first from research that one firm in an industry employed by identical firm has the research to conceive of and implement a strategy means that this other firm, because they possess the same research, can also conceive of and implement these strategies. Research, homogeneity and mobility and first mover advantages. One objection to this conclusion concerns so-called first mover advantages. In some circumstances, the first firm in an industry to implement a strategy can obtain a sustained competitive advantages over other firms. This firm might again access to distribution channel, development, goodwill with customer, or development of positive reputation, all before firms that implement their strategy later days. First moving from might obtain a sustained competitive advantages. Research, homogeneity and mobility and entry mobility barriers. A second objection to the conclusion that sustained competitive advantage cannot exist when firm research in an industry are perfectly homogeneous and mobile concern the existence of barriers to entry or more generally mobility barriers. Firm resource and sustained competitive advantage. Thus far, it has been suggested that in order to understand source of sustained competitive advantage, it is necessary to build a theoretical model that begins with assumption that firm resource may be heterogeneous and immobile. Not all firm resources hold the potential of sustained competitive advantage. To have this potential, a firm resource must have four attributes. It must be valuable, it must be rare among a firm's current and potential competition, be imperfectly immutable, and there cannot be strategically equivalent substitutes for this resource that are valuable but neither rare or imperfectly immutable. Valuable resource. Firm resource can only be source of competitive advantage or sustained competitive advantage when they are valuable. As suggested earlier, resources are valuable when they enable a firm to conceive or implement strategies that improve its efficiency and effectiveness. Rare resource. A firm enjoys a competitive advantage when it is implementing a value, creating strategy not simultaneously implemented by large numbers of other firms. Imperfectly immutable resource. Firm resource can be imperfectly immutable for one or a combination of three reasons: unique historical conditions, and causally ambiguous, and the last is socially complex.
Unique historical conditions and immutable resource is that performance of firm can be understood independent of their predictor, history, and other audition-created attribute of firms. Causal ambiguity and infinitely immutable resource. Causal ambiguity exists when the angle between the resource controlled by a firm in a firm's stated competitive advantage is not understood. Only very imperceptible. Social complexity. There may be very complex social phenomena beyond the ability of firms to systematically manage and influence. Substitutability. There must be no strategically equivalent valuable resource. They are themselves either not null or immutable.
Applying the framework, the relationship between resource integrity and immobility, value, rareness, immobility, and substancy, and sustained competitive advantage. This framework can be applied in analyzing the potential of a broad range of frame resources to be sources of stance competitive advantage. This analysis not only specifies the theoretical conditions under which sustained competitive advantage might exist, but also suggests specific empirical questions that need to be addressed before the relationship between a vertical frame resource and sustained competitive advantage can be understood. Strategy planning a stunt competitive advantage. This is a large and growing literature on the ability of various strategic planning process to generate competitive advantage for firms. Information processing system and stance competitive advantage. This is also a growing literature that focuses on information processing system and sustained competitive advantage. As with strategic planning, whether or not information processing systems are a source of sustained competitive advantage depends on the type of information processing system being analyzed.